history in 1971. And at that point, I thought I had a call to the ministry, and so I decided to go to seminary. And I went to Crow's in the fall of '71 and received 2 master degrees, 1 Master of Art, 1 Master of Divinity, in 1973 and 1975, respectively. Also, as a student, I had the opportunity to participate in student demonstrations in the 1960s, and that had a great influence on my decision to become a scholar, to become a professor. So I left Talladega and went to Crow's Seminary, and from there, I decided to pursue a PhD at Northwestern University in the history of religions with an emphasis on Christianity. And I received a PhD in 1980, and since that time I've been teaching and writing, mostly on Dr. King. I have 3 books on Dr. King. I'm primarily interested in the history of African American religion and culture, and also the history of civil rights crusades. Particularly the modern civil rights crusade.
Very good. And of course, I think the 2 of you have collaborated, as we said earlier, on a book, Between Cross and Crescent. And let's have the 2 of you give us some information relative to that book, and we, of course, will have an opportunity following the first commercial break to get into some detail in reference to it. But let's have the 2 of you sort of give us an overview in terms of what the audience can expect from such a publication, and the efforts that have gone into it, and the things that you believe to be important in terms of bringing this as a scholarly work in front of our audience this morning. Let's start off with you, Dr. AAl-Hadid, and of course Dr. Baldwin. I'm almost sure that we'll be interrupted, but we'll pick it up at the end of the first segment.
Yes, I think my involvement started in 1985. It was at that time that I created a concept at Tennessee State University called the Great Debate. And in that forum, we debate current issues from the perspective of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and try to achieve a dialectical synthesis. So it was about that time that I met Dr. Baldwin, and as fate would have it, he was also trying to bring some type of synthesis and some type of common understanding to Dr. King and Malcolm X. And so as he was working at Vanderbilt in terms of writing his books and doing the scholarship, and I was working at Tennessee State organizing the great debates, he and I just kept talking, exchanging ideas, and he would come to the great debates. I would go to his classes, and we worked together. And so finally we just decided, well, let's write this definitive book so that we can thrash out some of the contradictions and the misunderstandings. And so we started working on it. We did a first draft and an outline, and I think he got busy getting his tenure and full professorship at Vanderbilt, and I got busy doing the same thing at Tennessee State and creating the Department of Africana Studies. So once we got all our ducks lined up, he said, well, this will be our capstone activity. And we came back to this project, and we think that this is certainly, this particular book will be a defining moment for both of us. We see it as a capstone experience.
What do you say about this, Dr. Baldwin?
Dr. AAl-Hadid has given you much of the story in terms of how we met in connection with the Great Debate series. One of the things that we realized immediately, of course, is that we both come out of different faith traditions. And as you know, Malcolm was a Muslim and King a Christian. And we've noticed over the years the problems that often exist and the tensions that often exist between Christians and Muslims in the African American community. You often have a lot of competition. Both are proselytizing faiths, and self-righteousness, competition, other problems have often led to differences, fragmentation, tensions. And this book, we decided to write a book that would deal with Martin and Malcolm as sources of dialogue for Christians and Muslims around issues of culture and interfaith dialogue. So as Dr. AAl-Hadid said,